Welcome to LSB Feaster's Radio Aircheck and Classic TV channel.
8:57, 3 minutes away from 9 o'clock on the nearly famous Ross and Wilson show, and that just about wraps it up.
The day the music died.
Well, not really. It is true that our new programming will begin at noon today.
Yes.
Ron Lundy and Dan Ingram will be in shortly to do the last 3 hours here on WABC, and I got to say that it is. It's a very bittersweet type of situation here to be part of what is, in our business at least, a major happening.
Yes, we worked all our careers to get to a place like WABC, the music station, the preeminent music station, and it's kind of mixed feelings that it goes talk.
Well, like Bob Dylan said, the times they are a-changin'. You'll be happy to know that our show will stay virtually intact, with one minor exception. We will move over to Easter Daylight Time.
That's right.
And spring ahead tomorrow to be on the air from 6 to 10.
We'll still be playing music.
We'll still be having our scintillating, off-color, ribald jokes.
Yes.
And dealing with provocative material and so on. Ruth Gordon tomorrow, Jack Anderson on Wednesday, Nicholas Deke
of Deke
Pereira on Friday. Next week, Pia Zadora, Sophia Loren, Bridget Bardot, all those wonderful people. Of course, I will not be here.
No,
and neither will they. I thought it only appropriate that we end our show here with one of the great Beatles tunes that made WABC the station it was in the 60s.
77 WABC. It's been a ball being in music radio at 9 o'clock. Time for the news. It's a big budget, and Mayor Koch says it will be balanced. Here's John Maher.
Ross, Mayor Koch is scheduled to be briefing the City Council even as we speak on his new $15 billion budget. Koch will meet with reporters at City Hall in about 1 hour from now. Good morning. It's 63 degrees and sunny in New York. This is the 9 o'clock edition on WABC, New York's radio station.
Wednesday, new clouds take over. We turn partly cloudy with the same kind of readings. The high then again in the 70s. It's 56 degrees in Jamaica, 54 in West Point, and in New York City, 63 degrees. I'm Rasa K, WABC Radar Weather.
Holiday Inn has a no excuses room guarantee. It means your room will be let us take care of you. We give you a guarantee, not excuses.
Dear Ron, it has been only 2 nights to open your show every day, and I am sorry this is the last, but there is no way I'll say goodbye, love. Au revoir, mon amour.
No jingle?
Why, of course it'll be the same. My goodness. Hello, love. It is 9:14. It's 77 WABC. That's Ron Lundy in our greatest city in the world. Good morning, Mr. Ingram.
Good morning, Mr. Lundy.
How are you, sir? I'm fine.
I'm in pain, that's how I am. I'm not used to being up this early in the morning. I haven't got into the city before 10 o'clock in the morning in years.
Dan, I've never seen you up this early in the morning.
I've never been up this early in the morning, but I had a great breakfast. I had a dozen oysters and a half a bottle of Beaujolais, and I'm feeling real good.
May I say something before you get started on the oysters and the Beaujolais?
No, I've already done that.
I want to tell everybody that this special edition of the Dan Ingram, Ron Lundy Show is brought to you in its entirety by LaSalle all-natural ice cream.
Oh, that's a good stuff.
And I understand that Irene Fulrath has about 19,000 cases in her office. They can't even get in there for all the ice cream.
She
So are you ready?
It was delivered Friday, and it's all over her rug right now.
1961 is going to be the first record. You said you had something to say about 1960?
Well, a friend of mine...
I was still in school. You know, I don't remember.
I just got out of college. Richard Lorenzo, who works for Richard Foreman Associates, sent me a chronology of everything that's happened at WABC over the years, and I thought I might refer to it from time to time just to talk about some of the things we did. 1960 was actually the beginning of the up to about 3 hours from now, the modern format of... I guess it's the formerly modern format of WABC, because Martin Block was on this station. If you remember, Martin Block was on WNEW for 100 years when WNEW was a, believe it or not, top 40 radio station. And they hired Martin, and Martin used to come in one day a week. And John McDonald, who probably had the best hands...
First engineer I ever worked with here.
Best hands, he was the best turntable man in the business. Incredible. He would take a copy of a record and make it 3 minutes long or 2 minutes and 10 seconds long or anything you wanted. You couldn't tell on the air. And Martin used to come in and just record the talk. All he do is what they call chatter track. And And he came in 2 days, and I remember Martin used to give John a couple $100 a week in cash just so he could hit the network for him with all those little chatter tracks and make the records right. Anyway, Martin Bach retired in 1960, and WABC hired Mitch Miller to create sing-along jingles. If you may or may not remember them. The sing-along jingles...
hard remembering Mitch Miller.
Right. I saw him on the street. He looks pretty good. He got 50 cents for each one of those albums, and he sold 14 million of them, so you know where he's at. Anyway, they were touting the new lineup. Hal Neal had hired the morning mayor Herb Oscar Anderson. Don McNeil was on with the Breakfast Club that year. Happy Huggy Bear Charlie Greer.
Swing, Charlie.
Charlie Swing, right. Farrell Smith was on after that. Jack Carney, who we both know from WIL in St. Louis,
Sure.
who is a fascinating guy and the best lockpick in the world. And he also switched over to talk. He's on, what's that station, St. Louis, the big mother?
KMOX.
KMOX, he's still there. Anyway, Chuck Dunaway was then on after the 7 o'clock news block. Scott Muni was on from 10 to midnight.
Scotland Yard.
In Scotland Yard, that's right. And overnight, they had Big Joe's Happiness Exchange. Big Joe used to come in and take bandages off people to prove they were injured and then ask for money over the air.
I always thought that was Herb Oscar Anderson moonlighting.
He made a lot of money, I'll tell you that. And then Bill Owens was on. Bill Owens was also one of the original Swingin' 7 DJs. And the first survey, which was put out by Mr. Mike Josephs, who was the program consultant at the time. We talk about tight lists. Are you ready for this? The first WABC radio swinging sound survey had this list. The top 7 LPs, 7 Sure Shot LPs,
14.
the swinging 70 singles, soaring 70 singles, plus soaring 7 singles, and the 77 sound sleeper. It was very alliterative, all that, very sibilant. Then in 61, the swinging 7 sound survey debuted. Later in the year, sometime after July, it became the Silver Dollar Survey, which was a direct steal from John Box, for whom we worked at K-Box and WIL, and became the swinging Silver Dollar Survey about the time I arrived here, which was July the 3rd of 1961. We used to call it the Ingram Flingram. And we had Peter the Meter Reader and his weather machine, which I stole from an audition tape that some turkey sent to me.
Probably me.
You were in St. Louis on WIL. And Fat Pontoon, the weather girl, which I borrowed from Bob Dayton, who incidentally will be on the new Super Radio satellite service along with us. And Fat Pontoon was a takeoff on Pat Fontaine, who used to do the Today Show for a while. She did, didn't she do weather in St. Louis?
She did the weather at KMOX in St. Louis on television.
That's right. And Cousin Brucey came in I believe it was October, November, and or maybe it was September, I don't remember. Muni and Marl were called the M&M Boys.
Of course.
Because the Yankees, Mantle and Maris, were called the M&M Boys. And the Principal of the Year contest, we had our first one that year, which we borrowed from Bob Whitney, who programmed KBOX.
And WIL.
And the Swingin' 7 Jocks appeared at Freedomland, and there was a picture of me in the newspaper, a very strained look on my face, because that particular day, all the men's rooms were locked for some reason, and there were a lot of disc jockeys running from pavilion to pavilion trying to find some place to go. Fred Hall became the first all-night music host, and that's what happened in 1961.
I'm going to tell you, we're going to go, well, let's try to play some songs starting in 61. Yeah, we are going to play a few records.
It says
actually,
Talk
this
Radio
song,
on the microphone.
Actually, yes, it does. WABC Talk Radio.
Quickly pasted over the old logo, I might add.
This song actually came out toward the end of 1960, but it stayed around in 1961. This was the Shirelles' second big hit. Do you remember this?
Sure, I do.
Well, will you love me tomorrow?
Will you love me tomorrow?
I certainly will, sweetheart. Actually, that was, I guess, about their third song, but it really caught fire. The first one that they really had a big hit on was Tonight Tonight. You remember that?
Yeah, sure do.
That's good. That's the Shirelles. It's 9:23. It's 77 WABC. That's Ron Lundy with my buddy Dan Ingram. Oh, let's sell some ice cream and we'll get right back.
In the next 60 seconds, I'll attempt to acquaint you with some of the wonderful qualities that make affordable LaSalle all-natural ice cream one of America's newest ice cream sensations. Let's begin by opening this pint of LaSalle mint chocolate chip. Immediately, I'm overcome by the incredible fragrance of fresh mint, mingling with the sweet, rich aroma of dark chocolate. And I'm struck by the feeling that this thick, smooth, creamy creamy treat gliding across my spoon is truly out of the ordinary. And yet LaSalle is so affordable. Best of all, LaSalle never compromises on quality, whichever of their 16 all-natural flavors you try. In pints, half gallons, or wonderful six-pack novelty treats, LaSalle's creating great ice cream sensations. And no one knows that better than you.
LaSalle all-natural ice cream. We value good taste.
Oh, love it, LaSalle ice cream. Thank you. It's 9:24 WABC. Dan, this is a Monday morning. This is the 10th day of May.
May 10?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
You thought I was going to say a day that'll live in infamy, didn't you?
No.
Well, with you and me together.
Tomorrow is May 11th, which happens to be the 7th anniversary of my marriage to Jeannie, and I'm going to take the day off.
Has it been that long since I wore that little white vest?
At my wedding, you were my best man.
And gave away the tie that you gave me on the...
on Channel 13.
On Channel 13, where I was selling things.
I was so hurt when
I didn't mean to do that, Dan. It was just the only thing I could come up with to sell.
That's why I stole your hubcap.
I know. Dan sold my hubcap. I sold his tie. Those were the good old days. No, actually, these are the good old days.
Things are really getting better, as a matter of fact.
Well, I don't know if they're getting better or not. They're getting bigger.
I know is I got 7 weeks of paid vacation before I go over to the satellite, and that's going to be fun because they got 68 stations lined up so far. I don't know how many they've signed, but
I don't get any vacation. See, I didn't even know you were getting paid. See, I never knew that you got paid here until about a couple of months ago. I just thought you came in and did it for kicks.
Well, I do. It's fun.
I've never been paid, Dan. I think something is amiss here. 1962 was a very good year.
Well, that was the year the WABC Good Guys premiered. You may not remember it, but WABC had The Good Guys. We stole it from a station in... everybody steals in broadcasting. Stole it from a station in California. And then we became the 7 Good Guys plus 1 when Babaloo, the big fat daddy Pooh, came over and joined us, Bob Lewis, and he brought along his variable Wiebel-Furzer, which he used to let the time slide roll and play an old record. Everybody had a weird way of bringing on old records. It was like Dusty Diamonds on some stations.
I never did understand what he was saying the whole time.
I'm the only person in the world who has been able to repeat that. He told me that to my face once. Bob, of course, is very busy doing commercial voiceovers, and he's got more money than both of us put together. He's doing very well. We had the Hotline of Hits that year, 1962. Sam Holman was our program director. He doubled as air personality. He replaced Farrell Smith. The Lone Twister, a featured disc by the Lone Twister, disappeared when our station realized it was actually Murray the K. He put a record on and called himself the Lone Twister. The Mets, the first Mets game ever was aired on WABC, and we carried the Mets baseball for the first 2 years they were in the market. And Howard Cosell and Ralph Branca hosted the pre- and post-game shows. Howard was not quite a star in those days, but I'll tell you, Howard and Ralph had...
Howard was always a star.
Yeah, but Howard and Ralph had several $1,000s of my money. We used to play gin rummy all afternoon, and Howard is a consummate card counter. And Ralph Branca ain't no bad gin player either. And I just kept getting skunked, schneided. They won an awful lot of my money. Les Marshock, who is, I don't know where Les is now. He's doing commercials. I know. I hear him a lot and he was at another station in New York. He won the Be a DJ for a Day contest on WABC and joined Cousin Brucey on the air and became a high school sports reporter for WABC and eventually became a disc jockey. He was studying to be a pharmacist and went on and got his degree. So I guess he can legally, well, anyway. Les went on to be a disc jockey at other stations, and we had a whole lot of good guys because that was the year that WMCA stole it from us in the same market and called themselves the Good Guys and started putting out T-shirts. And that was 62 anyway. So what happened in 62 to you?
Well, I remember one thing in 1962. It was a song. Everybody, was doing the big dance to it. And Carole King wrote it. And it came out with some little girl named Little Eva.
Oh.
And to this day, I'll swear this is Carole King. I really believe it. I don't know. I always did think it was Carole King. I really did. And then when they used to go around with the shows, and Dick Clark, they used to have a little girl. I was supposed to be Carole King's babysitter or something, recorded that, but that really sounds like Carole King.
That's Carole King. And the reason I know you're right is because in 2 different Dick Clark shows, the girl who was Little Eva was a different girl each time.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
That's like Steely Dan.
That's right.
Yeah. Listen, it's 9:30 at WABC. I want to thank George Calvin for giving us all this ice cream today.
Okay, Jimmy, next announcer, please. Just once I'd like to go through this commercial.
Hi there.
Have you seen a script?
LaSalle Ice Cream audition, right? Let's see, I take the spoon, dig into the ice cream.
Yeah, be sure you do that, too, because the client said they really want you to taste the ice cream, okay?
And then let everyone know LaSalle tastes as good as the so-called premium stuff. Then I say one taste of LaSalle all-natural ice cream is all it takes. I'll list the 16 flavors, bitty-bee, bitty-bop.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's do it, okay?
One taste. One taste. Are you kidding? This is chocolate chip. LaSalle chocolate chip. This is incredible. No one told me.
Jimmy, quick. Another announcer. Self-control.
I need more chocolate chip.
Hey, come on, buddy. Come on, you're supposed to be a pro.
More LaSalle. More LaSalle.
Oh, I don't believe it. He's licking the bowl.
Oh, what's the use?
LaSalle all-natural ice cream. We value good taste.
Well, I'm going to tell you, if you value good taste, you're going to value LaSalle ice cream. Yum. A little early in the morning, but...
That's good stuff.
Oh, that is good.
I love it on Wheaties.
Oh, I do, too.
On Wheaties.
I do, too. I didn't think anybody else did that but me. Oh, I love it. Oh, yeah.
It's great on Wheaties.
Oh, it really is in the morning. Get that good sugar going for you. It's 9:32 at WABC. Hey, we're up to 1963, Dan.
We are already?
Oh, we're just going through some fast years.
Well, wait till we get to the 70s. They'll go by real quick.
I don't even remember the 70s.
Almost nothing happened in the 70s. In 63, WABC finally realized there were too many good guys in New York. So we changed our name. We had a meeting with Hal Neal, and we just decided what could we do that WMCA couldn't copy. Well, we said we'll be the All-Americans, and that's where we became the All-Americans, and we presented the new All-American survey on the most illogical day. I've never been able to figure out why, but Tuesday afternoon is when we brought the new survey on. It made no sense whatsoever, but that's what we did, and got carved in stone. Cousin Brucey also did the same thing the same night. He would do the same thing and count down the survey. The Four Seasons recorded Cousin Brucey's tune, Having a Ball with Cousin Brucey. You remember that. Go, go, Cousin Brucey. And Scott Muni went into the WABC gold mine every night. Dayton Place became in. Bob Dayton became the resident weekend host. He started here at working weekends. And the station temporarily ceased playing the hits following the JFK assassination, which I remember quite vividly. We started playing a lot of Mantovani and did that for about a week. And then, as happened many times after that, I was the guy that had to go back on the air. And
you know, that's the truth. You know, I was thinking back, seems like you were on the air when everything happened.
I was, and it's frankly not very good memories, but I remember going back on the air, and I remember saying, well, ain't nothing I can do about it. I'm the guy that's here to do it. I got some awfully nice mail from people about that.
I'll bet you did.
Yeah, there are a lot of good people out there. A lot of crazy people, too. I have two letters that hang on my wall. One is neatly typed and single-spaced on onion skin paper from a chap who was working on his Ph.D., and the thrust of the letter is that he used to listen to me while he was doing his work and had it on in the background, and he said every once in a while I'd say something that would make him laugh, and he thought that was very nice. And the other letter is written in crayon, and it says, shut the bleep up.
Don't let him have sharp objects.
It says, shut the bleep up when you're introducing records. You're ruining my tape recorder. So you realize those are your parameters.
1963.
Yes.
Oh, what a year. What a year. I wasn't here then. I was still in school. But I do remember some of the songs. So fine, so fine. Chiffon. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, they really had little bitty short records back in those days, didn't they? I
loved it.
I don't know if it was there, but I know about this time in St. Louis, we wouldn't play a record if it was 3 minutes long. If it was 2:30, 2:45, because it just didn't have enough time. There were so many commercials. There were so many commercials and so many promotions and so many contests. You just didn't have time to play the long record.
Well, I remember Dulang very well, because the first time that record came out, I came out of the music meeting with it, went in on the air, and played it 3 times in a row and blew out the switchboard down downstairs. And Wally Schwartz, who was our general manager at the time, wonderful guy, came storming in the studio and said, "Knock it off!" He couldn't get a call out.
I did that with Help when it came out of St. Louis. I played all afternoon, every record. Yeah. 1964 saw the Beatles. Saw the beginning of WABC. Actually, I think it was about 10, 12, 14 record companies that had so much Beatle recordings tucked away in the safes and everything, which they thought, of course, I mean, what's this, a funny-looking group from England with long hair. If you've seen pictures of the Beatles today, you look at them, they didn't have long hair at all. They really didn't. But back then, I guess they did, because, it was crew cut and thin tie city days. Very thin ties.
You couldn't see their ears.
Yeah, and the pleats were going out of pants and all that stuff.
Well, 64 was the year that Rick Sklar became the program director here at WABC and turned a #1 station into a superstation, WABC. Yeah. We had the Beatles Sound Spectacular, Win a Date with the Beatles. We raised an awful lot of money for cerebral palsy with that. And if you remember, some fans stole Ringo's St. Christopher medal.
Medallion, yeah.
The medallion that he had around his neck. And we went on the air and said, please, whoever has it, come forward and give it back, because his auntie gave it to him. Well, of course, the girl who had it came forward immediately. But Rick Sklar, being no fool, stashed her in a hotel room overnight while we went on the air.
With all the publicity.
Where is it?
Yeah.
And we had a press conference the next day. Everybody but the New York Times, which never covers radio. Except last week they did. But everybody at the New York Times were there, and we gave back the medal. And, of course, we had all kinds of kids out in the street. Do we have that tape around here from... I may have it here. Let me just take a look at my thing. We've played this before, but I'd like to play this now. There were 10,000 kids out in the street.
This is when everybody was singing the jingles?
Everybody was singing the jingles, and we've played this before, played it on the 20th show. I think it bears repeating. This is frightening to me, because it shows you how much power you have and don't know it usually when you're on the air. We hung a mic out the window, and Scott Muni and Bruce Morrow
This was over to Warwick, right?
Over to Warwick.
Yeah.
We're on the air, and we asked the kids to sing along, and this is what happened.
And while you're in such a great mood, while that crowd is in such a great mood, Big Dan, out there on Park Avenue, and we dearly love them.
Yeah.
Scotzo's here with Cousin Brucey, and Dan, you're right there. Let's have a little sing-along with all the crowd out there. Everybody stand by. We want you to sing along to a few of our All-American jingles. Let's live it up.
All right, can I sing along with the one about the team first?
Let's do the team. Everybody stand by and listen and sing along to our team jingle.
All right, here we go. Sing along.
The greatest team in the world. You! And 77 WABC. All-American.
That's pretty good. You think they could do it a little louder this time if we play a different jingle for them?
Yeah, they'll try it again. They're great. We love them.
Let's go with another jingle.
Let's go with another one, Dan.
Your world.
That's almost good enough. One more time with another jingle. One more time with another jingle, all right? Here we go. This time real big. Let's hear it now.
Let's swing with the All-Americans on 77
I think that deserves a Beatles record, right? Okay, let's go with Beatles music.
Well, that was some day. That was an incredible day. 64 incidentally was the year they had the April Fool's Day, where they had me in the studio patched out, and I thought I was on the air, and I wasn't, and Bob Dayton was on the air. That was kind of fun. That was a good year, 64. That's when it all really started to hang together.
That's because I was still in St. Louis.
You were still in St. Louis. So it's like, I feel like, what was the Mamas and Papas record, Creek Alley?
Yeah, right.
John and Mitchie were still out there.
American Express card, right. Oh, boy, that was really good. I remember when the Beatles came out. I did not like the Beatles at all. I really didn't, because I just thought that they sounded like four Everly Brothers. And I really did, And, I mean, everything, all of a sudden, I've never seen anything like that in my life, the way that they took off. Now, that was on Capitol, that record, but they had so many, like I said before, that everybody in the world had recorded and had in safes. But that was actually their first American hit.
Well, BJ
I want to
had
hold
all
your
that
hand.
stuff.
Oh, yeah, and Two and
I
all
had
kind
that in
of stuff.
'63. A guy named Bob Maxwell, who's been around music for years, gave me the album and said, "What do you think of him?" I said,
Yeah, me too. It took me, I don't know, I guess to see him in concert to really appreciate it. It really did. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Of course, the Beatles, not unlike the Beach Boys, are really a recording group. Because the Beatles on stage, I'm sure, a lot of you have seen them, but you couldn't hear them anyway.
No.
And, I mean, they couldn't hear each other to get their pitch, to get their tone. They couldn't even hear each other on the stage.
Well, in the Shea Stadium concert, we had some film that someone shot, which was actually picking up what they were doing.
Yeah.
They weren't singing at all. They're on
And you couldn't tell the difference. You really couldn't. But anyway, I was still out in St. Louis then, and I was getting a little edgy, a little excited, calling Rick Sklar every third day and calling you, and that was in 1964. The special edition of the Dan Ingram, Ron Lundy program is being brought to you by LaSalle All-Natural Ice Cream.
Sir, I think the desert heat has gotten to the men. They keep mumbling. Dessert? LaSalle.
Dessert? LaSalle? Do you think it's an oasis?
Actually, sir, I believe they mean LaSalle all-natural ice cream.
Oh, that dessert. Jolly good idea, Lieutenant. Say, did you bring the sprinkles?
Only nuts.
Sister, we must repint.
Don't you mean repent?
Oh, no, repint. I polished off the LaSalle all-natural ice cream last Sunday. Get it, Sunday.
Rory, darling, did you hear the Van Doles almost lost a fortune in the market?
Jane, dear, do you mean the stock market?
No, silly boy. The supermarket. Imagine nearly buying the so-called premium brands instead of delicious, affordable LaSalle all-natural ice cream.
It's a wonder they still have their yacht. LaSalle all-natural ice cream. We value good taste.
Oh, we certainly do. Well, getting up to my time now, I can sort of relate. Coming in to 1965. Dan, this was the first record I ever played on the air in New York.
Yeah?
And I didn't know this. A listener had written me just a couple of months ago, was telling me I had no idea in the world what it was.
I don't know what I played.
But this was the first. They had a song before this, but this is what really kicked it off. In 1965 for the Stones. Still trying to get some satisfaction.
Well, 65 was a big year at WABC.
You know, they cut the middle chorus out of the song when it came out here at WABC because it was a little risque.
No kidding.
Truthfully. Yes. Engineers did such a good job on it you couldn't even tell, and that was locally done here. They cut middle chorus out about in the back seat and all that stuff.
Done that a lot.
Sure, of course.
Oh, incidentally, we're talking about 65. A lot of things happened in 65. Bob Dayton made an unfortunate remark about Hiroshima, and then played, he did not play Happy Birthday Baby. He played 16 Candles, which starts out Happy
Everybody
Birthday
says
Baby.
it was Happy Birthday.
It was 16 Candles. And that was it. He was fired before he was off the air and didn't know it. And it's one of those things that happens sometimes. And that created an opening. As a matter of fact, it created two openings, and I had been listening to a DJ on WWRL who, I didn't know if he was white or black or what, but it turns out he was black. And I'd had your tapes, and I brought them into Wally Schwartz, who decided that he liked both of them. And I know he hired you, and you started doing the all-night show here on WABC.
A lot of people don't remember that. They think I started at 10 o'clock in the morning, which I really didn't, because that was when McNeil's Breakfast Club was on.
I understand. And you did the all-night show, and Chuck Leonard was hired, and I will always admire Chuck, because Chuck walked into Wally Schwartz's office, and Wally offered him the job, and Chuck looked Wally right in the eye and said, "I ain't going to be nobody's experiment."
That's right.
Chuck became the first black disc jockey on an all-white station way back in 1965, for which I've always admired Wally and Chuck.
Yeah.
And then we had the blackout.
Chuck and me just got to be the best of friends.
Yeah.
Still are. I mean,
and he's doing well. Anyway, we had our blackout.
We sure did.
The records all slowed down, and I went out to the transmitter with an armload of LPs, was joined there by Tom Romano. We were on the air till 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was, in a sense, it was fun, but I was really pooped by the time I got out of there.
A little scared because nobody knew what was really going on.
What was weird was they had power in Lodi, New Jersey, which is where our transmitter was, and I was looking across the river at this big hulk, black New York, empty, and it was a little bit frightening. But anyway, those are some of the events of 65. And then in 66, you moved to the Midday and made it
11 o'clock in the morning, Don McNeil's Breakfast Club was still on.
You know, you've been here 17 years, and I will say it because you won't say it, but one of the best-kept secrets in radio, to my way of thinking, is the fact that you've had the highest midday ratings in the city of New York for about 15 out of those 17 years. Number one all the way. And I think a lot more should be written about that.
Well, won't worry about that. 1966 was a good year. This was one of my really favorite songs. 1966 was Bobby Hebb. I love you. I love you. Oh, Sonny one so true, honey. I love you.
He was first black artist.
First black artist to ever appear on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry. A lot of people think it was Charlie Pride, but it was Bobby Hebb, who is a great songwriter who has written many, many songs. You know that, don't you, Mark?
I do now.
Yes, okay.
Mark Summers is here. Peter Bush just came in.
Yes.
All kinds of good people in the studio. Sid Simon is here. Wouldn't be right what I'd said, you know?
No, it wouldn't. That's the truth.
What's his nickname?
What's his nickname? Right?
Sid never had a nickname.
Oh, he's the president of
he's
premier.
president of Brooklyn, the prime minister of Canarsie, but
prime minister of Canarsie,
he's the
right?
prime minister of Canarsie.
Anyway, it was New Year's Day, 1966, when New York first heard "Hello, Love," the greatest city in the world, which went into Midnight Cowboy, didn't it?
Sure did. I got a little Oscar for that. You know, it says Best Supporting Voice, 1969.
I went on FM and did something called The Other Day at Ingram Show on WABC FM with Bob Deitch as my engineer. Bob is now Group 7 3/4 or Chief Engineer for FM. I don't know exactly what your title is.
They've all got titles. You got the
everybody gets a title. Then we got a new set of jingles. We'll take Fun City and WABC. The
that was John Lindsay. That's when he came in, sure.
The All-Americans went on strike, and Rick Sklar went on the air to do about 10 minutes of a newscast.
Billy Bronx.
Rick is a genius at programming, especially at promotion, but he's not an air personality, really.
I never will forget, though, when he got through, you said, "Thank you, Billy Bronx." I'll never forget that as long as I live. Right. And that was after we got back on the air.
Yeah. And They're Coming to Take Me Away was removed from the air the second it was played, as a matter of fact. I never did find out who called and had it taken off, but I understand it came from on high.
It really did. It was, it came from way upstairs because it was a lot of doctors and psychiatrists and all people like that were objecting to it.
What's the record you got there?
Well, I'm going to do an ice cream commercial first. Because I love my ice cream.
Hello, New York, and welcome to the Ice Cream News, brought to you by LaSalle All-Natural Ice Cream. First up, a human interest story. This is Princess, a lucky little kitten who today was coaxed off a precarious perch by a bowl of delicious LaSalle All-Natural Vanilla ice cream. Some of you may remember Princess. Last week, she was featured in the My Favorite LaSalle Ice Cream flavor segment of our special series, Animals That Love People Food. On the national scene, it was suggested this week by a prominent Clevelander that LaSalle Ice Cream be given the key to the city of Cleveland. Unfortunately, he lost the key. Finally, in sports snacks this week, LaSalle Specialty Six-Packs have an early lead in the parent-children snacking competition. In the pint category, LaSalle's 16 flavors were way ahead on taste, and half-gallons entered in the supermarket sell-a-thon seem in the best shape ever. Well, that's today's ice cream news, and here's hoping your ice cream is LaSalle ice cream.
Sounded good to me. I'd say I'm sitting here with a big box of LaSalle all-natural vanilla fudge swirl. Half-gallon. That's 1.89 liters.
Says so right on there.
Yum.
I have the rarest recording of all. I've played this on the air a few times, and it was 66 that we finally heard the singing debut of Howard Cosell.
I'm living today. I wanna be a part of it. New York, New York. Hello.
And then when Howard heard what had happened, this is what he said.
I didn't come to the microphone to take your abuse.
Howard is one of the true geniuses of our time.
Certainly is.
Which he'll tell you if you don't tell him.
That's right. And he'll tell you 5 times, but you can tell him. You're right. And he's pretty good at gin rummy, too, huh, Dan?
Yeah, I figure I'm down around $5,000 with him. And Brank has sold me a couple $100,000 worth of life insurance. That's what he's doing these days. And then I started to worry going across the street because I've forgotten to fill out the little form on who gets the money. And I don't know whether Ralph filled that out himself or not. But anyway, are we ready for... We are ready for...
I think we're ready for John Maher in the news. We're going to be back with a song I believe was number 1 for 1967. I'm not sure. If it wasn't number 1, it was in the top 5. John, what's happening in the news?
Well, Mayor Koch is unveiling his budget. Good morning. It's 64 degrees and sunny in New York. This is the 10 o'clock edition on WABC, New York's radio station. His Honor formally takes the wraps off his $15.7 billion budget today. Right now, the city is over $300 million short of what was expected in state aid. That and other expected monies could put the budget out of whack if they don't come through. By law, the budget must be in balance. We'll host San Diego at Shea this evening. It's 64 degrees and sunny in New York. The WABC radar weather forecast, mostly sunny today, the high near 72. The current temperature, 64. Repeating the top story, Mayor Koch is detailing his $15 billion budget to reporters at City Hall this morning.